Thank you for joining us today for the after dinner chat. These after dinner chats take place, well, after dinner, in so much as that the next dinner party takes place regularly. And then if you've been to a dinner party, I think it's a great idea to come onto these chats so that more people can see some of the fabulous people I get to meet at the dinner table. Those dinner tables have taken place since 2007 when I started them out when I moved to Sydney, since in Singapore and Dubai, and now back here in London. The idea is that the dinners, we just get a bunch of like-minded people around the table to talk shop. Always fun, sometimes useful. Now, today we have Audrey Boisumeau. Audrey is on her third DSP, as she tells me, and is really enjoying. You can see the enthusiasm from the chat that we're going to have around the new role that she started just a few weeks ago. I met Audrey with the inimitable Katie Jones. I was actually going along to the Advertising Association's debating society that has the Commons. I hadn't been, thought it would be interesting, and bumped into Katie there, who was there with her friend Audrey. Audrey has been along to some of the dinners recently and is just really a great addition to the team, as she is very knowledgeable about what the industry is up to, what's coming around the corner. So I hope you enjoy this chat as much as I do. Audrey, great to catch up with you. I'm going to dive straight in, if I may. What's been in the news this week that's caught your eye? Not something too obvious, I'm hoping.
No, but well, first of all, hi, James, and thanks for having me. I have something quite interesting. So I don't know if you've seen that on the news or international news, but the French Prime Minister François Bayrou has proposed removing 2 bank holidays in France to help with national deficit. So as you may know, I know. So that was quite a massive storm in France at the moment, actually.
Farmers going on strike and people are pouring. Blocking the roads, and the teachers are not going to go back to school, and because it's the wonderful chain of all the strikes that can happen.
I mean, I was going to say, if you are planning on going to France, or anybody listening planning to go on holiday in France in the next few weeks, brace yourself. You might be on for the strike of your life. But yeah, so yeah, well, obviously we're quite in the, we've got quite a large debt. It's common knowledge, but so one of the solutions that the government came up with is to just remove Easter Monday and Victory of Europe Day, which, as you can imagine, French people are feeling ripped off. So yeah.
I love how you use that expression. I am horrified on behalf of the French people to lose. How many public holidays are there in France every year? Is it 14 or 15 normally? Or
well, hang on. I don't know if you know that, but the rule is, so obviously we've got a very strong reputation for generous holiday, long summer breaks, like legal right to disconnect, any of the labor protection.
6 hours working week and all that.
I know, anything that you can imagine. We're world famous for that. But so the legal standards is 35 hours. So that's the legal working time per week. Obviously, a lot of jobs require much more than 35 hours. So what happens is, if you do over that, you either need to get paid or get compensation time. And this is why you end up with 10 or 20 extra holidays a year in France. So yeah, to be fair, now I lived in the UK, I realized how easy we actually have it in France. Like in London, people call a 50 hours a light week. In France, we call that 2 jobs, So yeah, it's just not just a reform, it's touching really like the cultural values. So yeah, I'm preparing the popcorn, and I'm going to follow that from the UK and see how that goes. But yeah, it's going to be quite an interesting time.
I am delighted that was not the news item that I could possibly have guessed that you might come up with, and I'm delighted. Not delighted on behalf of the French people, but as you say, let's get the popcorn.
They're not going to get away. They're not going to get away with it that easily. Like, as you say, strike are coming. So yeah, we see.
All right, now tell me a little bit about what you're up to. You've changed roles, and I'm delighted to hear that it's flat out already. Tell me, how do you help people get ripped off less?
Yeah, well, I've been in that tech for quite some time now, and mostly on the pure tech side. And you know me, in the last few years, I've been working in roles that really promotes strong ethic and fair business practices. From my background fighting for ad fraud and against ad fraud and empowering programmatic buyers, I always really try to choose companies that provide customers in the ad tech space with control and transparency, which I think is fundamental when you operate in this space. So I've recently joined Azerian. So Azerian is a Dutch company, is a very large group. Is 6 million in revenue business. It's present in 25 countries, so it's quite a large entity. And my role is to run the operation of Hawke, the Azerian DSP in the UK, and support the launch in the US. So the good thing about Azerian is it's an omnichannel business, so that gives a lot of advantage when it comes to cost control and transparency and high service. So we have lots of proprietary technologies. So we have the DSP, the SSP, the DMP, the creative studio. So we've got a very, very solid tech stack. We are very strong advocates of opening platform access for managed service for our DSP client. We give access to log-level data for a self-serve client. We are applying strict SPO. So we have a lot of initiatives to support and initiatives that help the industry to move towards like a more ethical way of transacting. I think some of the SSP have done a great job when it comes to curation and making sense of all the supply that we see in our ecosystem. But it's also, as a DSP, it's also our responsibility to control what comes into our pipe and choose the most cost-efficient route for our clients. So yeah, this is kind of all the project and things that we're working on, and I am working on to make sure that we empower programmatic buyer. Data is another, it's extremely important for us. We have lots of capabilities, measurement, understanding how your media spend generates important outcomes. So there's a lot of ways we can help clients to make sure they make the most of their budget.
How do you compete though in the busy world as a programmatic buyer? One might have a handful of DSPs already, and they're big famous ones. The Google and the Trade Desk are the first two that come to mind for anybody everywhere all the time. Why do they need you too?
Yeah, so one aspect that I found very appealing about Hawke, and one of the reasons I joined, is we are one of the only DSP that supports all of those initiatives and support use cases across every channel. So CTV, DOH, and audio, where we were originally very, very strong, which is not the case of our other competitors like Rich Media, obviously coming from a group who has a strong legacy of Rich Media and Skins, with the acquisition of Sublime and Skin Media. So display video is a given, but we have a lot of strong knowledge and expertise in lots of areas. And I think the fact that we provide an end-to-end solution with no hidden cost is a massive plus. And to talk about Google, we are not Google. There's no conflict of interest. We can provide our client with a very powerful tech stack with the DSP, the DMP, the SSP, but at the end of the day, they decide where they want to spend that budget. So we are more an enabler, and we're trying to empower our client with the level of transparency and control that they need. And I think that's what set us aside. We have proven and shown a lot of flexibility when it comes to building custom use cases as well, and that has worked pretty well for us.
Tell me, what percentage of your clients are agencies or client direct? I mean, do you go via agencies? I mean, do you want to work with WPP, for example?
Yeah, so we work already with WPP in many ways, but I would say agency is a strong focus. Definitely large. The all cause is definitely is definitely a business that we have cracked years ago at Azerian. And I think on the DSP side, there is some use case that we will definitely be able to help with. So this is something that I'm going to be working on intensively. But there is a lot of independent agency as well that needs support and help navigating into that very big ecosystem with lots of ad tech offering many and various products. So when it comes to brand direct, I think it's an interesting one because you're right, there is more and more brand and marketers that are going into the in-housing route. It's not that easy. Sometimes those opportunities require a lot of handholdings and education, but we see some great initiative. I think we've seen some opinion piece from Helion or Lloyds Bank talking about, getting more control over the programmatic buying and understanding really how to measure it. And I think it's quite encouraging to see that. So we of course, we're always open to support brand doing that. So the acquisition is quite recent. So I think we've got it figured. We've got a strong narrative that is already out in market for Hawke, but I think there is definitely more to come.
How many people on the team in the UK?
I would say 20, but as I said, we are present in 25 offices. We're over 1,000. So we've got a product team based in Paris. Our headquarters is in Amsterdam. So the actual Hawke team across the world is very large. And that's what makes it exciting as well, is we've got all the resources to support very exciting use cases that are really trendy at the moment as well, and fit into the narrative of the new era that we're entering. Because I think there is a lot of things changing in programmatic, and I know we say that every year, but it was very exciting 15 years ago when we all discovered programmatic, and then came the time of problem with transparency and then all the initiative to fix it. And I feel like now we're really at the time where we got it figured, and it's time to move on and then just narrow down what advertiser actually need to have an ethical programmatic buying process, and this is really what we want to tackle.
I won't pick you up on the ethical programmatic buying because that's just...
We're talking about getting ripped off, so obviously we can encourage not getting ripped off.
Exactly, good, quite right too. Tell me, let's jump to the high five section. I'd love to hear who's your hero in context of ripped off less.
I've got lots of heroes, and I think we all should have lots of heroes. But in that context, there is someone quite interesting. His name is Augustin Fu. I don't know if you came across his profile or some of his articles. He is an American ad fraud researcher and the founder of Fu Analytics. So Fu Analytics is an independent ad fraud detection and analytic platform. He's an engineer, which I like to say, because he's not a marketer, he's actually an engineer. And he has a very unique approach when he comes to ad fraud and detection. So his only ambition is to build a more sustainable programmatic ecosystem, and he does it brilliantly. So he helps advertisers, agencies, and publishers detect ad fraud across programmatic campaigns. His tech is brilliant. He uses thousands of data points. He detects fraudulent impression, like bot traffic, spoof domains, hidden ads. He analyzes log-level data from DSP, SSPs, and ad servers, and he identifies waste in the supply path, where there is too many intermediaries, for example, inflated costs. So the good thing is he provides report that can be acted on directly by programmatic buyers and improve the media buying in real time. He's got lots of clients and brands that trust his work in the US. But, he's a very smart person. He's been in the industry for 30 years. I think he's seen it all. He's got a doctorate. He's built a phenomenal tech that works. And I give him a lot of credit, for his commitment to eradicate fraud. A lot of brands found a lot of value in his work.
And he's prolific on LinkedIn too, so we'll make sure that we link to him for this episode, so he can listen.
People, we say it's controversial, but at the end, when you build something that works and is here to help brands do better programmatic, well, we can only agree with that, in my opinion.
What's your best decision? The next on the high five is, what's your best decision to date?
Well, I can't hide it. I'm a French-born Parisian. I lived in many places. I grew up in Paris. I lived in New York. I lived in Australia, and I've been in the UK for now 10 years. And I must say, I'm truly European, and that was the best decision I made for my life. It obviously has a big impact on my life, choosing the UK as home. I sacrificed my French holiday. I sacrificed the good wine, the nice weather. But overall, it's the best decision I've made personally and professionally. I have a fantastic British husband. I worked in an industry that I love, and is particularly dynamic in London. So that's definitely the best decision I made.
Awesome.
You happy with that?
Yeah, no, I'm delighted with that. I'm delighted with that. Having dragged my Australian family back to this country, it's always good to hear other people saying this is the right place to be. So tell me, what's your worst decision to date?
Do you know what? I'm a big advocate of there is no such thing as bad decision. There's always a big learning or growth. I've never really made a bad decision that had a massive impact on my work, on my life. I don't know if you remember that guy in Google that pressed the wrong button when he was doing a demo and spent 1.5 million overnight by accident. Do you don't remember that? That was quite a few years ago.
Have you done that one?
I've not done something that massive, like the night of the yellow ad, I think it was calling. But no, I've never done something that drastic. But if I could go back in time, I would buy lots of Bitcoins and retire on the French Riviera drinking Rosé on the yacht. But I think we all made that mistake. So yeah, let's go with crypto.
Well, we can all of us getting in a little bit late now. Tell me the funniest moment.
Well, again, like honestly, we work in an industry where we work hard, we play hard as well. Like all our client, partner, supplier are all at some point becoming friends. It's such a great industry to work. I feel very lucky to work in ad tech. We have brilliant events that we gather. Like we have lots of fun in Cannes. But if I think back, one of the best and fun memories I have in my ad tech career is when I was part of the team that set up one of the very first trading desks in Paris. That was back like, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 maybe years ago. We were basically trying to convince the whole market what RTB even was, and we were so obsessed with making it work. We were doing like very long hours. We were drinking way too much coffee, chain smoking in the office. Obviously, we had that massive like smedge fridge, completely stacked up with rosé. That office was in the middle of Paris, and it was basically our second home. Like we were staying there until stupid hours, playing poker at 1 a.m. Then back at it the next day like nothing happened. It was such a fun time. And when I moved to Australia, I remember they threw me the best living party I've ever had, and I've worked for a lot of companies. So it's kind of one of those moments when you look back, you think we were working our asses off, but we had so much fun doing it. And I was young. I think my mindset was a bit different. I think we're becoming a bit more miserable.
You're ancient now.
Listen,
my last question for you is one more person. So if there was one more person that could come on the podcast, and of course to come on the podcast, one has to come to one of the dinners. So who do you think should be coming to a dinner sometime soon if we happen to do one in the city where they live?
I'm going to nominate and recommend Richard Auteuil. I don't know if you know him. He's a veteran of the industry and is going to absolutely hate me for calling him a veteran. Richard is great. He's a supply programmatic expert. He works at Picnic now, which is like a sort of advanced supply scoring company. I've known Richard for a few years now, and he always had very sharp and very accurate opinion on programmatic trends and topics. Is also one of the most humble person I know, which is becoming rare, I think, in our industry. It's just a great leader and a nice guy. But yeah, I respect him a lot. You know, I remember him talking a lot about the state of the supply in the industry, talking about ADEX when he was a bit slippery, and seeing the DOJ court case now, it just amazes me to see how right he was. But Richard will give you a great perspective without making it about himself. That's why I think it'd be a great guest.
I'm delighted. Well, I'll ask you to get him along to the next dinner that you're coming along to. Audrey, lovely to catch up with you. Thank you so much for giving us a quick insight into your world today.
Thank you, James. Thank you for having me.
This episode is brought to you by jobsandadtech.com, the only jobs board dedicated to digital media and the ad tech industry. If you're hiring now, use promo code JWPOD, JWPOD, for a 10% discount on any package. Jobsandadtech.com, it's where ad techers go to find their next role.